Good morning and welcome to Whenever You Are. I am Bandit Haze, and today I'm going to be talking about Iron Fist. I'm going to be doing an Iron Fist review, the fourth Marvel Netflix series. So we've had Daredevil, we've had Jessica Jones, we've had Luke Cage, and now we've got Iron Fist, the latest, currently the latest in the Marvel Netflix series. So here's the thing, I want to do a review, and I want to talk about the characters first. Just hit the microphone, be careful with that. And then after that, I'm going to give my overall impressions and views of the series as a whole. I'm not going to get into any major spoilers or anything like that, but I might mention a few things here and there. Also, first of all, I want to say this as well, that I'm not familiar with the Marvel Iron Fist comic that started, I believe, in the 70s, as I was reading. Started in the 70s, late 70s, I think. But I'm not familiar with the comic line. I'm not familiar with any animated versions or any other versions of Iron Fist that may be in existence. I don't even know if they're in existence. That's how unfamiliar I am with them. All I know about Iron Fist is from what I've been watching in this TV show and the little bits that I've read online, like that fact that it was a comic that starts in the 70s. All right, so let me start with the characters. I'm going to talk about Iron Fist himself, Danny Rand, but I'm going to save him till last. First, I want to start with Colleen Wing. Now, Colleen Wing, here's the thing. I felt like as the actress that played her, Jessica Hennick, I felt she did a pretty decent job of the character overall for the most part. I'd imagine she's a big part of Iron Fist comic. In fact, what I read on Wikipedia was that she trains with Misty Knight, and they have like the Doors of the Dragons was a reference to what she does with Misty Knight. But as far as this TV show went, she just felt like a character that didn't really need to be there. Like, there's a few bits at the beginning where she just gets introduced as kind of a minor thing, and it's like cool, but then it doesn't really do much with her. Not until sort of much later on in the series where they start using her character a bit more. But she wasn't a complete waste. Joy Meacham was pretty much entirely a waste. Again, I assume she's a much bigger part of the comic as why she's there. But just it felt like they didn't really know what to do with her as far as this particular series go. There's a few things that she gets involved with. Towards the end, they start using her a bit more, but even then it just seems to sort of drop off. But throughout this particular season, it was just kind of like, Ward Meacham. I want to say this, a bit of a nitpick and maybe a bit of a mean thing to say, but he kind of looks like Joseph Gordon-Levitt, right? That's what I thought. But anyway, that's besides the point. He had more of an impact than Joy Meacham. I liked what they did with him and Harold. I thought it was a pretty cool storyline. Felt that it could have been done had a little bit more of an impact. I was getting the impression that the relationship between him and his father is that it's more abusive. I mean, it should be more abusive. That's how it seemed to me. Again, I'm not familiar with the comic. I don't know. Maybe that's spot on. But to me, I just kept getting the impression that this guy should be more abusive to Ward, and it just wasn't quite there. But overall, I thought it was a decent storyline, that particular sub-story leading me on to his father, Harold Meacham. So he was an interesting character, I felt. I did feel like the actor that played him didn't really suit the role. Like, it just didn't seem there all the way. And I mean, there's a few parts that I think he done really well, but overall he just seemed like maybe they should have given him a different part. Like, I'm not saying he's a terrible actor, nothing like that, but just watching this, he just seemed like, like maybe somebody else could have done that better, much better. A lot better. But anyway, now Madame Gao, I'm going to say this about Madame Gao. Madame Gao was easily, in my opinion, the best character. The manipulation, the fact that you don't know whether she's lying or telling the truth. You don't know, and if she is telling the truth, you don't know to what end she's telling the truth and to how it serves her. And just her whole character was done, just was awesome, and the way she was played, she kind of had that Yoda vibe. And but that she ain't no slouch, where she was like, and Danny's like flying all over the place. So yeah, the character, the actor, that was spot on. Madame Gao was easily, in my opinion, the very best thing about Iron Fist. Awesome, fantastic. Yeah, definitely more Madame Gao. They should have like a Madame Gao series, I think. Like, that's what they should do, because they're doing a Punisher series. They should have a Madame Gao series. That's what I want to do. Like, that's what I want to see. The Hand with Madame Gao. Claire Temple. Let me talk about Claire Temple. I think, in all honesty, though, it does need more Claire Temple. I felt like the way they introduced her in Daredevil and the way they progressed with her character through Jessica Jones and then Luke Cage, especially with Jessica Jones, it just seemed to be diminished quite a bit. Her character seemed to be diminished quite a bit, and this series as well, her character seemed very, very diminished. Not so much in terms of number of episodes or times you see her. You do see a fair amount throughout the series, especially in the sort of, I think from about episode 4 or 5 onwards, you see her quite a bit. But just the character itself seemed diminished. Like she just seemed to be in the background more, just kind of hanging back, that sort of thing. I just felt like for someone who's going to be in all 4 series, she needs to have a more important impact on the show, and she just didn't have that. And it's a shame because Rosario Dawson is an awesome actress and easily one of the best actresses in the whole Marvel series, from Daredevil, from Jessica Jones, from Luke Cage and Iron Fist as well. She's easily one of the most talented actresses that they've got. So there's so much more they could be doing with that character, and to see that they've just diminished her to just like popping up, and I mean, maybe that's a bit harsh. She does have some impact. She does play some role, but it's just they could have done more with her. They should have done more with her. But Bakuto, he just came across like a Bond villain, didn't he? Right? I mean, the way he was acted out, it's like, I don't know if that's the character, I don't know, but he just came across like, what? I mean, he was good with the martial arts. I'll give him that. He was pretty cool with the martial arts, or at least the stunt double. I don't know if that was him or the stunt double or the way they edit it, but his martial arts scenes, they look pretty cool. I don't know how much of that was him or not, but still, it was pretty cool nonetheless. Davos was like pretty much almost pointless throughout the whole thing. Like, I don't see, like, I mean, maybe not entirely pointless, that's a bit harsh, but it's just almost pointless. Like, I would say this though, he had a pretty cool introduction, very mysterious, all that kind of stuff, but it's just that in the end it didn't really amount to a whole much, and he just I don't know, it seemed like they could have done more with him as well. I mean, of course they could have done more, but it seems like there was more that they should be there. Like, I'm getting the impression that there's much more of an importance between him and Danny Rand that they just didn't really explore. That's the impression I'm getting. But it just wasn't there in the series. But anyway, Danny Rand, the main guy himself, Iron Fist. Let's talk about this fella now. The most important character in the whole thing. I mean, his name is on the bloody series, Iron Fist. Yet he was the worst martial artist. He was at times the worst actor. I mean, I get that he's supposed to be, struggling with his anger and all that kind of stuff. Like, he hasn't quite learned to control it fully and all that, but he just came across like a baby whose bottle got taken away, and his martial arts were like, I mean, it looked terrible. Like, whether it was a stunt double, whether it was him, whether it was whatever they did it, or however they edited it, it just seemed terrible. It looked like everybody was slowing down. Like, when he's having the fight scenes with Colleen Wing, it looked like everything had to be slowed down for him. When he's having the fight scenes with Lewis Tan, I'm going to talk about in a second as well, everything seems to be slowed down for him, and it just looked on screen, it just didn't look good. Because here's the thing. I mean, when it comes down to it, if the actor can't do martial arts, that's fine. If they have a stunt double that does it for them, that's fine. But when you edit it together, I'm looking at how does it look to me on screen, whether it looks good or not, because I don't care who does what, I just care how it looks in the end. And it just looked terrible. For the most part, it looked terrible. There's a few bits he does that's pretty cool, but most of it was terrible. And it was like, this guy, I mean, I would say that he did look the parts in terms of, the billionaire or the beginning when he's a homeless guy. He looked like a homeless guy. He looked like a billionaire later on. He looked like he just fit in, like a very unassuming person that you wouldn't think much of the character. You wouldn't look twice at him. He just looks like an everyday regular billionaire or everyday regular homeless guy when he was a homeless guy. So I would say that they got the look right. At least as I mean, again, not familiar with the comic, but as far as I'm understanding the character, they seem to get the look right. But the martial arts was just terrible, and that acting was okay mostly, but there was just times where it just stuck out as really, really bad. But yeah, Lewis Tan, because there was some talk about how Lewis Tan should have gotten the role. Apparently he actually auditioned for the role of Iron Fist, but was turned down for Finn Jones instead. And there was something on Twitter or some other places where they're like, Lewis Tan should have gotten a role, increase more Asians and all that kind of stuff. And it is a thing about Lewis Tan. I would say this, he looks, I mean, I'm not familiar with Lewis Tan. This is the first time I've seen him anything, and he looks pretty badass. Straight up, he looks pretty badass. He looks like he'll kick your ass. He definitely, his martial arts, when you see him do like the drunken style, he knows what he's doing. From what I can see here, he looks like someone who knows what he's doing. However, I would say it's probably best that it didn't give him the role, and the reason for that is because, as I said, he looks pretty badass. He looks like he can kick your ass, and I think like if you have him as like the homeless guy or the billionaire guy, he wouldn't be as unassuming. And I think for that reason, I don't know if I would have went with Lewis Tan if I was in charge of casting either. That said, I wouldn't have went with Finn Jones either. So yeah, there you go. All right, so with all that said, so my overall view on the series was that, it started off fairly well. I liked how it started. It was, with the whole thing about him coming back and trying to get his identity back and all that kind of stuff. And also liked that the Hand were involved quite heavily, especially leading into Defenders. I think that's going to be a cool thing to see. The Hand were introduced in Daredevil. I think, hopefully, I'm thinking anyway, going into the Defenders, the Hand were probably going to play a much bigger role, so that's cool, especially if they're going to have Madame Gao. Hopefully they're going to have Madame Gao. Please reduce Kuto's presence as much as possible. There was parts of it where it kind of like drifted into like this weird sort of 90s romance, story, like with, Danny Rand and Colleen Wing. And, they get together, fine, whatever. But it was just like how it happened, and it just felt a bit too... But it is what it is. It wasn't a major part of the story, so it doesn't matter too much. But by the time it gets to the end, I felt the ending was, pretty adequate. It was alright. It wasn't like the greatest thing ever, but it's pretty okay. I think they closed off enough of the story to have a complete series, for it to be its own story. But at the same time, they left enough open so that you can lead into possibly a season 2 or, into Defenders as well. So that's pretty cool as well. The whole Davos and Joy Meacham thing at the end, though, that didn't seem to make any sense since they weren't acquainted with each other during the series, so that didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. Like, why were they talking? That being said, it does potentially mean that Davos isn't as pointless as he might have come across, perhaps leading into the Defenders or a possible season 2, that he might have a bit more of an important role. You might see more of their connection and Danny and stuff, but the way it happened in this, it just seemed like, what, why, But yeah, I think overall it was pretty good. I mean, if you're a Marvel fan of, the Netflix series, Marvel fans, you probably watched it anyway. If you're not a Marvel fan, if you don't really care for these sorts of things, I don't think this is going to be the one to convince you. It's okay, overall I felt it was okay. It wasn't terrible. Certainly there's certainly terrible things about it, but overall it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. It was okay. It was okay in my view. And that's pretty much it. This, in my opinion, is the weakest that they've done so far, which is a shame. But I'm looking forward to Defenders nonetheless anyway. And I'm quite invested in this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe and the whole Marvel Netflix universe as well. So I'm going to want to watch as much of these things as I can anyway, because I love these things. That said, as much as I love these things, this one was just meh. And that is what I think of Iron Fist Villages. What do you think? Wax on or wax off? Let me know down below, and if you liked this video, give it a like and share it amongst your friends. If you did not like it, then give it a dislike and share it amongst your enemies. Either way, let me know your reasons in the comments. Subscribe if you have not already. Thank you for watching, and until whenever, if ever, the path to Kung-Lung is open. How he portrays it, that a lot, I think I can safely say, is down to the fact that the actor Ben Mendelsohn did an absolutely amazing job in portraying that almost a megalomaniac type character, and it's incredible just to watch that on screen and how it plays out and how he fits into the story, with Grand Moff